This step we need to start cutting the railing cap and wardrobe tube. Now you should have made a cut list in the previous step and prepared what you need to cut. And there's a few ways that you can cut the railing cap and wardrobe tube. This piece of equipment is called an abrasive cutoff saw. And it works well, but there's a few disadvantages. First of all, because it heats up, it will melt the cap a little bit, and it causes some pretty bad burrs on the rail and also on the wardrobe tube, which you'll need to clean up after you cut them. Now the next piece of equipment is what's called a dry cut saw. Sometimes it's referred to as a cold cut saw. And this is a great piece of equipment because there's not a lot of sparks and things like we saw in the abrasive saw. It has a carbide blade that is specifically made for steel, and it works extremely well. They're fairly expensive, but if you do a lot of cutting, they're well worth the investment. Now the next piece of equipment is the old hacksaw, and this is extremely valuable, and you need to have one of these in your toolbox. And for a number of years, I cut railing cap and wardrobe tube just using a hacksaw. The thing that you need to remember is to make sure that you have a fine-tooth blade, because that works best. When you're cutting railing cap, you need to remember to deduct 3/4 of an inch from your railing cap whenever you have a finished gable. And the design consultant should have marked very clearly on the installation diagrams wherever there is a finished gable. The next step is to cut and prepare all the wardrobe tube from the list that you've created. Now when you cut the wardrobe tube, make sure that you label it for the locations that they're going to be installed. This will save you a lot of time when you get to the job site. Now when you have a wardrobe tube, you need to deduct 5/16 of an inch to allow for the wardrobe tube supports. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you have a double hang section that's 24 inches wide, so you're going to need 2 pieces of wardrobe tube. For that 24 inches, you need to deduct 5/16 of an inch. Now sometimes it's a little bit difficult to look at the little 16th inch marks. So what I do is I look at the 1/4 inch and then subtract another 16th of an inch. So that would make it 23 3/4 inches less another 16th for the correct size. The wardrobe tube comes in 8-foot lengths and it's covered with a plastic wrap. Now I prefer to leave the plastic wrap on after I cut the lengths that I require. This helps protect it from scratching and scuffing even on the way to the job site. Now when I cut this, what you need to do is, let's say we're going to cut a piece of wardrobe tube for a 24-inch shelf section. So I'll measure 24 and I'll just tear the plastic right at that mark, and using a Sharpie I'll mark on there 23 3/4 less a 16th, and mark that right on the wardrobe tube like that and get ready to cut. And then I'll get it set up to cut it in the dry cut saw right on that mark. And as you can see, it's a perfect cut. The next step is to assemble all the drawer boxes. Now Sherwood Shelving offers a knockdown drawer box system that need to be assembled. And we'll show you how to assemble the melamine box and the soft close box, but we'll do that a little bit later in the video. Right now, let's go to the next step, which is to install the VB cam fittings. And installing the cam fittings is fairly simple. There's just a few little tricks that you need to remember. The tail of the cam needs to be held into place, and then you hammer in the front of the cam fitting first. So just go ahead and hammer in that, and then the tail afterwards. And that's all it takes to put in the cam fittings. So hold the tail in place, hammer in the front of the cam, hammer in the back of the cam fitting, and then just make sure it's nice and tight. And so let me go ahead and show you how I do that. it really makes a difference, the speed that you install these cam fittings. If you've got a really big job with a lot of fixed shelves and you're going quite slowly, just speeding it up a little bit can save you hours. So instead of perhaps taking 4 hours to put in cam fittings, you only take 2 because you've sped up a little bit. So just be aware of that fact and try to put them in as quickly as you can. Now, after your VB cams have been installed, the next thing that you want to do is to blow off the shelving. So having a compressor and air hose is really important. You want to blow that shelving off because often there's edge tape, confetti, or sawdust that's on the shelving. You don't want to bring that into the customer's home. So if you blow it off now, it'll save you a lot of time later on cleaning up. The other thing that you want to do is inspect the shelving for any blemishes or chips. Remember that it is melamine and wood, and it can chip very easily. So if you notice a shelf that has a chip on it, you may want to mark it or put it aside and then figure out how you're going to install that shelf so that the customer won't see it. You also want to load up your van with all of the required hardware. Now what we have is a caddy with all of our hardware, and this is the main hardware that you require on the job. And it carries all of the hardware that you'll need. We not only have this caddy, but we also have a toolbox that is full with bulk quantities of this hardware. And so you want to check both those locations, make sure they're fully stocked. Make sure you have your toolbox with all of your tools. You want to double check that because perhaps on the last job you forgot a tool, you didn't realize it, and when you get to this next job, you're going to need that tool. So you want to check all your tools, make sure you have them. Also your cordless drill, you want to make sure that you've charged up your batteries and they're ready to go and not going to run out on you while you're on the job site. The last couple of steps, you want to make sure that you have extra rail and cap in your van and also extra wardrobe tube. You never know when you're going to need them. If you follow all of these pre-installation procedures, you're going to save time, you're going to be more efficient, and you're going to be more profitable.